right now, we have Phil Isley, the chairman of the Centennial Board, the Centennial Authority, on the Heister Automotive Group hotline. Philip, thank you very much for taking the time to join us. I'm sure it is a very exciting time for you and everyone involved with the Centennial Authority. So I'm going to get really the only, I don't want to say negative, maybe the only complaint I've heard out of the way first, which is, where are NC State fans going to tailgate with all of this development happening around PNC and around Carter Finley?
Well, Tim, thanks for having me on the show. There are, I think, a total of 14,000 plus tailgating spots around our building and Carter Finley and other surrounding areas. Our side of the arena, it holds maybe 4,500 or so parking spots. There's still going to be plenty of tailgating throughout this entire process. There will at least still be 50% surface parking lots on our side, even after full build-out. There may be some times during various seasons where there will be some disruption due to construction, but ultimately we're doing this in such a manner, in a phased manner, where folks are going to know where the construction is happening. They can either relocate or find a different area, and maybe even on the Carter Finley side. But then ultimately, there will be some parking decks. There are going to be some cool concepts to make the parking decks actually really desirable. But I don't think you're going to see a lot of folks, losing a ton of sleep over their parking space being relocated once they see what's going to go there and other options that will be on the ground.
You've piqued my interest. How do you make a parking deck really desirable? Because most parking decks I walk in, they're concrete and they have some parking spots. How's this one going to be better for tailgaters or I guess more attractive?
There are some things that I have seen, and so just so you know, we are not the developer of the site, and so the developer of the site has their schematics, their renditions. But they've come up with a really interesting concept that I think when folks see it, and they'll probably be looking to release this in a month or two, maybe 2 months, to get feedback. But it is truly going to be unique, probably in North America. And I think ultimately once people see what's going down there and they actually experience what I have seen, it's going to be one of a kind, and we'll be very proud to have that. Both for NC State, football and basketball, but also for hockey and concerts, and the activation ideas that we've also seen for our side of the arena will make this effectively a 365, 24/7 atmosphere that will have a lot of activity throughout the day. And so it's going to really transform this area in a way that people just don't even understand right now, because you have asphalt out there 200 plus days a year.
Philip Isley, chairman of the Centennial Authority, which the board of has just voted earlier today to approve a 20-year lease extension and 80-acre development agreement with the Carolina Hurricanes. The two deals expected to kick off a $300 million renovation of the arena. Philip, I saw Phase 1 includes 200,000 square feet of entertainment and retail. Now, you mentioned you're not the developer, but do you have any idea what maybe that entertainment and retail, what things, what I don't know, businesses, restaurants might be coming? So
the Hurricanes today released sort of their statement, and they have identified Live Nation as building a 4,300 indoor music facility that will be very multi-purpose. So it's effectively orchestral, just a big flat floor that can be used for not only concerts but esports. Mm-hmm. There's also an idea to have sort of rooftop activation, or at least side balcony activation. So Live Nation will have this music venue. By the term sheet that we executed last year, and then we solidified today in the actual development agreement, they have to have all of these milestone developments, so at least $200 million worth of assessed value, a certain number of apartments, certain number of office space, certain number of hotel rooms. They are committing to not only hit the $200 million assessment milestone, but a $400 million assessment milestone, if not higher. I know that the owner of the Hurricanes and his development partner want to really come out of the gate and within that first phase have sort of the parking structures, this cool idea that I'm being very cryptic about, sort of the entertainment district, as well as the core commercial and residential infrastructure in place to where both sides of the arena have sort of the entertainment vibe, and then on the other side is more of the retail district, the office space. And so you have two separate distinct districts, with the arena effectively being the line of demarcation between both districts. And they've also had some really creative things with respect to infrastructure, ingress and egress, both in and out of the arena side, that will help immensely for hockey, basketball, and football games.
I call this like the kind of crux question, like the $1 trillion question. But I guess in this case, it's like a $300 or $400 million question. Where's the money coming from? Where's the breakdown, and how is this money being raised?
Well, that's a great question. That's Mr. Dundon is responsible for raising those dollars, and I think he can, and I know he wants to. We want to obviously do everything that we can to make our site as economically viable for the individual or a group of individuals to want to develop these 80 acres that everybody anticipated 25 years ago would have already been developed. And so, there's been a reason that hasn't happened for all those years, and now we have somebody who actually wants to do that and put their own money at risk by doing this. And I do think that at the end of the day, the term sheet, the development agreement, have a minimum investment of $800 million over the next 20 years. This is a Philip Isley guess, but my guess is there'll be at least $1.5 billion or $2 billion when everything is all said and done, based on primarily the economic vitality of our region, how we are continuing to grow, our proximity to the airport, and to everything else that's happening in the Triangle, whether it be downtown Raleigh, whether it be Cary and Fenton, whether it be Durham, the park. We're just so situated in an ideal location where we can draw on all the great things that all of our cities and regions can offer us. And that really will help effectuate this incredible development opportunity that ultimately in 20 years, when my grandchildren, which I have none yet, but when they're 20 years old, they're going to say, golly, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Philip Isley, chairman of the Centennial Authority, joining us here. Philip, before we let you leave, and we appreciate you sharing all this insight, when you start talking about billions, right, you brought it up. We've been hearing for 20 plus years that this is a possibility and this is going to happen, and we've been kind of waiting for, I guess, today for it all to really kick off. Is there a plan for construction? Like, are we going to have the golden shovels out there soon? And then when do all those inconveniences with construction sites and everything kind of really kick in?
So there are a couple things that have to happen, and these have to happen pretty quickly. We have to get local government commission authority. It's a state entity that approves our ability to issue bonds on the revenue stream that the city and the county are providing us through their interlocal agreement. That's something we have to go through. We anticipate that will happen in the fall. We believe we're going to be approved to do exactly what we want to do. And once we get that access to capital, we will then begin to issue our bonds. Our hope is after the basketball and hockey seasons of 25, so let's just say June of 25, we will begin in earnest to redo the things inside the arena that we can do without massive interruption initially. We want baby steps first, because when we start peeling back layers of cement and other things, there may be things that we haven't realized were there. So we want to do a more careful first step within the arena. But in conjunction with that, we'll do something next summer in the arena. But when state football season ends in November or December of 25, I believe that is when you're going to see the golden shovel photo op and hard hat photo op, where the developer will start making his play to start building their first structures on site, and they have 5 years to complete. Once they put a shovel in the ground, they've got 5 years to complete this first phase, which again I think will be closer to $400 or $500 million than the $200 million in assessed value that they have to do by contract.
Philip, we will be anxiously awaiting those days.
The short answer, or the long answer, is it'll happen in 25.
All right, there we go. I'll be anxiously awaiting. I think it's going to be a big addition to that West Raleigh area. Philip, we appreciate you for taking the time, and we'll check in as more developments happen.
Please do. No, thanks for having me on the show.